many of you guys understand what a foot in the door offer is? Give me a 1 in the chat. Or a tripwire, right? Or it's just simply, guys, the first thing that you sell to a prospect. Yeah, it's easy to understand. I don't think that you should be selling pay-per-call as your foot in the door offer ever. Why? Because of what we just talked about on the last slide. Because most people don't do good enough due diligence. They just say yes to the deal. It's the first time talking to a prospect. They have no idea if the prospect understands what a lead is worth, if the customer is going to be a good customer. Are they going to pay you on time? Are they going to return your phone calls? There's no lead value benchmark, right? What's a good lead? What's a bad lead? What is the right price for a lead? All these things lead to a fucking disastrous relationship. And trust me when I say, right, when there isn't 3 months to wait for something, right, and it starts happening a week from them coming on board and they start getting the phone calls and everything else, right, things get real quickly, right? When they see the quality and it's not what they expect, they're out the door. So here's the thing. When you sell leads, even if you define, paste and match style, Jesus. Even when you define what lead quality is and when you're going to bill, right? So for us, we say it's got to be over 30 seconds unless it's a missed call, right? The person has to be in your territory, which is in their county, right? And the person has to be wanting to do business with you. And then basically based upon the niche, we make some other very minor tweaks, right? So if we're in, we're in roofing and somebody is wanting a tile roof in that area of the country, nobody sells tile roofs or does work on tile roofs, we'll make that exception, right? But all those exceptions are laid out beforehand, okay? But there are very little exceptions. Okay, and we will say this is exactly what a billable call is. The problem at the end of the day is that there's no benchmark. They aren't holding that call to anything else, right? They're not saying, Joe, you sent these calls and this were the attributes of the calls, and I'm comparing it to this. They're just comparing it to referrals and made up fucking bullshit. Okay, what's a good lead? What's a good price? You have to have a benchmark. If you don't have a benchmark, if there is no benchmark in place, okay, your prospect will always be complaining. And if they're not complaining, they're always trying to negotiate cheaper, 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 and better, better, better. Why? Because simply there's nothing to compare it to. Give me a 1 in the chat if that makes sense. Please give me a 1. Is this hitting home? For those of you guys that have been in this business, this should be hitting home big time. I should be like striking a chord. Like I'm hitting your muscle and digging in and you're like, fucking stop it, right? This is a huge fucking issue in the industry and nobody fucking talks about it. So why is there no benchmark? The fact of the matter is there's no benchmark because there's nothing to benchmark it to. How many of the customers that you have sold in the last 12 months have a good understanding of their cost per acquisition for a qualified lead based upon how we just defined it a couple of minutes ago? How many? What percent? Let me know in the chat. 1%, 2%, 0%. Shit, my father's company, right? Like, I'm a marketer. I preach this shit all day long, right? I teach you guys this shit. My father hears me rant about this stuff, right? And he owns a roofing company. They understand overall their CPA on a gross level for all traffic sources combined. That's it. They don't know what came from what. They're guessing kind of halfway on the other stuff, right? They don't even know. So I want some feedback from you. What percentage of your customers know how much they're paying right now for a qualified lead? None. 5%, 0, absolutely none. 90%. 90, John, I don't believe it. Right? 1% if they're on it, Chris says. 10% of the successful ones. 0% of the other. Love it, Lee. 0. Very, very few. Even the companies that I've thought when I've met with them, like, man, these guys are freaking on top of it. Like, there's some smart people and they're getting it and they're scaling. They're doing, $20 million. And I really talk to them and I really dig in after time of being a customer, right? Months and months and months. I find out that they don't really get it as much as I thought that they did. So the takeaway here, if you guys are selling pay-per-call and you're not benchmarking, you are screwing yourself. You are screwing yourself. There is very little for you to stand on. Customer says it's too expensive. How are you going to rebut them? Like, you're going to show them the facts? Like, that's not going to help. Right? I've literally opened up AdWords and said, they're like, you're too expensive. And I'm like, all right, Bob, I'm not sure what else to say here. Right? I literally haven't made $1 since we turned on your campaign. Check this shit out. Oh, yeah, well, it's too expensive. Give me a 9 if you guys understand that you have to have a benchmark. And it needs to be a benchmark that they have paid for. They understand those numbers. They're black and white, right? And your benchmark is that, right? And it's the same criteria. It's a greater than 30-second call. It's this, it's this, it's this. And that's my criteria, and that's this criteria that we've already tested and benchmark, right? Bob, if I can do better than that, and I can get you some volume, are you interested in spending some money with me for pay-per-call? Yes, sir, right? That needs to be your pitch now. If not, you are wasting your time, your effort, your resources, your money. I didn't get near as many 9s as I should have. If you're selling pay-per-call, you better be doing this. You can also go apply this to other things though, right? When you're talking with a prospect and let's say that you're doing SEO for them and you're sharing with them your results and what you've done for them, what do you need, right? You need a benchmark. You need to be able to show them what it's doing compared to their pay-per-click. So when you ask for a raise and you upsell them to another service or to do more of what you're already doing, they're easily going to say yes, but you got to have a freaking benchmark and you got to be talking dollars and cents, right? You need something to compare it to. I really hope that this is sinking in. Really, really hope that this one is sinking in for you guys.